Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Special Finance Committee meeting for October 10th, 2022, 5 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Well, we've got one obvious item on the agenda this evening that's discussing the 2023 budget. I guess just a little bit of history. We've been working on, as a council, getting a little more involved in the budget process, and this is part of that involvement. I guess we're just going to go department by department and just ask if there's any department heads that have anything to say, any council members that have any questions for department heads. Is there anything you want to point out or?
Yeah, I'll start with the page 2 in your 376 page document that's attached to the agenda. Indicates that we have not received the state aids for transportation as of yet, and as of this morning we did receive them. So we had $28,000 in addition to previous year's budget. So in your budget book it would be a positive of $28,000 in revenue. You can find the page in a second, but just note that it's in yellow in your budget book. Page
5.
Page
yeah.
5.
Yeah.
So that 1.158 and 130 between the two of them, it's up 28 grand. The other one that's in yellow on that page is the 18 million on top regarding property tax. So that would go down by the reflective amount, 28 grand. So there'll be a little bit of a savings. There's a few items that are still in flux, but a big one being off the books. We typically don't receive the state transportation aids this late, but the state sends them to us when they do, and we got them today. So that's a good news item that it didn't go down further. So the 50 cent or so increase might be a cent or so less than that based on this news.
Certainly good news. I'm going to assume that we haven't heard anything more on the firefighter grant as of yet, but we're still not completely concerned about that, right? There's still time?
We've not heard any news since the last time we met. No.
Okay. Okay. Well, and some of these may not really apply as departments.
Yeah, so some of you that have paper versions, or the numbers might not line up if you're looking online on they'll line up, but they're not a continuous number like they are online. So when we talk about starting the Common Council budget on page 14, if there are any questions, you would have to flip to it in your paper version to the Common Council budget.
Okay, I guess I'll use the online version. That probably makes more sense, I suppose. Okay, the contracted attorney, Ian, is not present. I guess that's fairly self-explanatory anyways. City Administrator, Jay, you've already... Go ahead.
Yeah, on the prosecuting, or what is it, contracted attorney, general labor and prosecuting, I think we need to, at some point soon, we need to address this in the municipal code, because municipal code as it stands now speaks only of these as employees, not as contractors. So we need to either hire these people or hire attorneys, or we need to modify the municipal code, because clearly we don't have provisions for contracted attorneys. I've already mentioned this to Jay, so. Jay, I didn't surprise.
Yeah. We've talked about that before, and I agree with Mark. It's something we need to correct in our code.
It does make sense, yeah. Thank you, Mark. Administrator. Okay, the city clerk's office, Lisbeth, is a new addition to our staff. She's been doing great so far. Do we have any questions for Lisbeth or the city clerk's office? Elizabeth, do you have any comments? Okay, okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, in your goals for 2023, you talk about creating an online portal for requesting public records, and I think it's a great idea, outstanding. I think that you need to look at partnering with the police department, which is the other primary person or primary organization that's responding to public records requests. There are some other ones that come in and so on, but I think you need to come up with something that works for everybody so we don't have to deal with two different public records systems within one city
For sure.
government.
And being
But-
that's going to be a new employee for the police department also, this would be a good time to do that, for sure.
Well, I don't know that it would be a new person, but it's certainly a new
They're hiring
application.
it- Well, okay, I'm not going to argue about it, but
Perhaps the chief would like to weigh in on this.
Good evening. Guys all look
Good evening, Chief.
smaller.
Afternoon.
We would certainly be willing and interested in partnering with Lisbeth. It's an excellent goal. We came in front of this body mid-year to explain our needs of a new records clerk position to address the open records challenges brought about by body-worn cameras, and always a very labor-intensive task for us through both this discovery, but just the open records requests through just normal reports, but now with body worn. So anything that Lisbeth is looking into that would use technology to increase our access for the public, ease the requesting ability, it would certainly be something we're interested in. That's a great goal. So thank you for thinking of that.
awesome. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, both of you.
Elizabeth, under revenue, the liquor and malt beverage, so in 2021, the revenue was 85,000 plus. 2022, it was budgeted, I don't know why, at only 53,000, but it was. Through the first 6 months of this year, it's already at 62.4. Now, the estimate for next year is 64.10. It would seem that we're ahead of the 2022 budget, and I was going to ask, could it, for the first 6 months, but it dawns on me that most of that revenue is by July 1st. Yeah. And that's so you really don't expect much for the rest of the year unless there's some transfers of licenses?
Yes, that's correct. So we do have the $10,000 licenses, so we do have that reserve one, and then it's every 2 years that they get renewed, so that's one of the reasons why.
I should have talked through in my head before I went on the mic, but thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Jed. Any more questions for Elizabeth? Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Might as well stay up there.
In expenditures under contractual services, there is a line item for background checks for licenses. Are these different than the background checks that the police department runs, or does the police department provide background checks for $7 a piece?
So we do work with the police department, IT, or is Clerk here? No. So you do see that we did, it's not as great as the last year, and the reason for it's that we're using the services in here at a lower cost for operators licenses.
Okay.
That makes sense.
John, did you have a question?
Nope, I was just helping out.
Oh, gosh, okay, okay. Anyone else? Looks like we're good, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Human Resources, and Michelle, you said, have we got anyone here representing? Yeah, Michelle. Anyone have any questions for Michelle, or Michelle, do you have any comments? Go ahead, of course, Mark, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I count on you, man. That's good.
Human Resources, under expenditures, there is a line item, public official bond, in parentheses, police chief. Is the police chief the only bonded person in the city? And is there any protection for people that aren't the police chief?
Yeah. I actually, that's been in the budget for like the last probably 10 years or whatnot. So actually I've requested from the insurance company more information on it. But actually, everybody is covered under our criminal, like we have a crime policy. So everybody's covered under that policy, actually. So unless it's directed in our bylaws that they have to be bonded, we don't have anybody else bonded. It's only,
To the best of your knowledge, is there anything in our bylaws that says?
I'm still checking on that. I am looking into it so that we can make sure, but I don't have the answer for if who is all bonded. Last I checked, no, there's nobody else, but I'm still looking through it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Might as well hang out for a second. Michelle, yeah, is there any other questions for Michelle? Human resources stuff, no? No? Okay, awesome, thank you, Michelle, appreciate that. Okay, moving right along. Are we talking about elections as a section?
Yeah, it's its own department
Is it its
according
own
to our
department?
budget.
Okay.
Lisbeth is in charge of it.
Any questions on the elections department? No? No? Okay. What, go ahead. Jed?
There was mention of a possible change that the county was going to be implementing on the handling of ballots that I heard about. Is that going to are they going to reimburse us for any extra expense for that, or
I
are
know.
we not going to have?
Yeah, the county will be paying for it. So they're gonna be paying the poll workers.
They're going to take care of
Yeah,
that?
that comes out from their budget.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Fair enough. Any other questions? No? Okay, the finance department? I assume there's going to be. Is there, Carrie, did you want to step on up?
I have a question. This
You
is
just go
going back
first from
to,
now on, Mark.
this is going back to, sorry.
It's okay.
You'd be surprised how many of these I got rid of before this meeting.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, in the general fund budget summary, there was a there was a line item on AR collection agency. The actuals for that in 2022 through June 30th was $2736. It's $160,000 expense in 2023. We budgeted $130,000 in 2022, and our actual in 2021 was $165,675. I guess I'm trying to figure out how we went from 165,000 actual, came up with a lesser amount for the budget in 2022, and if I double what we spent, we're still looking at $6,000 or less for 2022.
So the increase in 21 was from, unfortunately, when COVID hit, our state debt collection program stopped trying to collect the ambulance bills and such, so there was less collection amounts through that program. So that's why the write-off amount is higher for that year. And we usually take that to council in November. I usually do that, request the write-offs then, so. That's why the actual as of 6:30 is very low.
And we were hopeful in 2022 and not as hopeful based on recent year trends. That's why we're increasing the budget for 2023.
Okay, so this is basically ambulance bills that we throw
That's the
to the
majority
state?
of it. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Go ahead, Randy.
Thanks.
I couldn't tell who that was. Got you.
I got a question, and I've seen this on a couple now, and I'm guessing it's due to the comp study. But salary is in, finance $150,000 up from 2022. Is that correct? Is that mainly due to the comp study, or?
If you compare the general fund line item to the 2022 budget number, it is up, I'll say significantly, but not 150. It's 266 compared to the 304. So don't compare it to the 415.
Okay.
That's a common trap, I'll say. And yes,
Does the question still stand?
due to the.
I would assume
Yep.
that's due to.
Yep.
Okay. Is that what you're looking for, Randy? Anybody else? Okay. Anybody else? No more for finance, huh? Okay. All right. You're off the hook, Carrie.
Thank you.
For now, yes, for now. City assessor. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Any questions for city assessor?
This is where you're raising the building department.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, I didn't get you that address, did I? God damn it. Boop. That was light, Mike. Okay, nothing else?
Thanks, Jeff.
No, thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank the Lord. Okay. Building inspection, is that going to be the same department?
Yeah, if you have questions, we'll bring somebody up, but otherwise.
Okay. Any questions in the buildings inspection section? No. IT, I understand our IT guy Kurt is not here, but do we have any questions?
I have a number that I'll have to.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's anything that's specific, Mark, you and I have talked about a couple of your IT questions in advance. We can connect you directly to Kurt in days to come.
I'll talk to Kurt when he comes
Okay.
available.
Okay.
Because I understand he's
On vacation, yep, wonderful.
Did we let him take vacation around budget time?
IT guys don't
Who
get
do we
vacation.
blame for that?
No. Right. Paid him way too much. Okay, development director. I believe that's illustrious Mr. Petrovich.
So the first one's just GIS. If there's any questions on GIS, Mark can answer.
Anyone? No? No? All right, let's gotta keep things moving. I don't know if we didn't really lump the Merck stuff together, did we? No.
Now you're on police.
Yeah. Any questions for the police chief? Chief Daring?
I had lots, but they all got answered.
They all got answered, good. Okay. Okay, nothing else? No? All right, man, we are cruising right along here. All right, this is a big part of the, did I skip over it? No, okay. Got this down, okay. Fire chief. I just have, I guess I just have a comment that we're obviously raising the fire chief's budget this year significantly, and we did have a conversation earlier, and the general attitude is that of gratitude to the taxpayers of West Bend, and this is obviously something we really needed. We did some assessments, and I personally am very supportive, and hope that the rest of the city is too. So, any questions for the chief? Comments?
No, like you alluded to, this is not lost on anybody in the fire department. This is a heavy lift for the city, heavy lift for the council, and we truly appreciate the support we've gotten as we move forward with adding our personnel. We really needed it years ago, and now we really, really need it. So we're glad that we have the support to move forward with it.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
it dawns on me, I do have a question. The organizational table that you included with the budget appears to be your current organizational table.
Correct.
Could you provide us with where you're planning to put the 9 additional people and the shifts and so on, so that this is more current?
There'll be 3 personnel added to each shift to get to the 9. And as we add them, we're going to add them at Station 1, and then as they get trained and are ready to move on, we'll add them to the outlying stations,
Okay.
if that makes...
If you got all 9 on day 1, you'd put 9 additional people at Station 1 and,
It depends on how the training is going. Once they get off of the 40-hour week training sessions that we put them through. If we get all 9 at once, no, we probably won't put on, we want to add 3 more. We probably will put 1 at Station 3. So we would have 4 out there for a 4-man engine company. But then we eventually would move them as we saw fit as we were moving through the process.
if you could then provide some kind of a,
Sure.
what the future state is
Yeah.
when we hire the 9th
Yep.
person.
Yeah, and it's going to be a trial and error. We're probably going to change a little bit in the way we respond to med calls and fire calls and things like that. It's going to be a work in progress. Just a little update. We have interviews scheduled with the Police and Fire Commission on the 9th. So we're hoping that the budget passes on the 7th, and then on the 9th when we interview, we can offer, make conditional offers based on passing background and psychological exams. So I think that's going to be huge, so that when these individuals come through, there's a lot of demand for these individuals. And if they do well in the interviews and the backgrounds, we can offer them jobs right away, and hopefully that keeps them here.
Do psychological interviews, they have to be crazy to be a fireman?
Pretty much.
Run into a burning building?
Have to check all the boxes.
I speak from experience, having run into a burning ship a few times.
Piggybacking on Mark's question a little bit, once you get these extra staff, are you going to possibly implement any of what was suggested by the study that was done?
Hopefully all of it, or most of it. 4-man engine companies in dedicated ambulance crews. We'll probably go to 2-person med crews with the ambulance or engine backups. That's more the trend now than there is, but we just didn't have the personnel to pull 2 people off of an engine and constantly just run them on an ambulance. So now hopefully if we can get staffing to 5 at the outlying station, Station 3 and Station 1, we can have a 3-person engine company, 2-person med units, dedicated staff for each one of those. That's somewhat of the game plan, and that's not cut in stone yet. As we add people and we see what's the most efficient way to use them, then we're going to use them that way. Get everybody's input and those kind of things.
Awesome.
9 total new personnel.
Yep.
Where are we at with hiring currently?
We're fully staffed right now,
So
what we
all
have
9 have been
positions
hired?
for, right, yep. So these 9 that we'll be adding will be all additional.
Okay, got it.
Jed, please.
I guess for those who are listening at home, who may be coming into this in the middle of the process, we are 15 firefighters short, right?
Correct.
We're 15 short. We're pulling off-duty firefighters from home to fill the stations when the on-duty personnel are tied up on rescue calls and/or anything that's going on that's an emergency. Usually it's a rescue call, though I would
Correct.
assume, but we can't keep doing that, and we're 15 short. We're making a decision to hire 9 to try to fill that up, and it's simply something we can't kick down the road anymore.
15 short by the conservative study. The firefighter study had them 23 short.
It was more than 15, I'm not exactly sure what.
Yeah, it was significantly
Right.
more. So, yes, John, please.
Just a
Worth
question,
mentioning.
Chief.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have you had to cancel any calls out there because of the shortage right now?
We have not. It's unbelievable that the guys that come back on their off duties, the other day we ran 24 calls in a 24-hour period. And many of those we had all 4 ambulances out at one time. So one of those ambulances staffed strictly with off-duty personnel. They literally went from call to call, coming back from the hospital, had to come red lights and siren back into the city. But the guys do a great job of compensating and and reacting and that kind of stuff, and we've been able to handle them, but it's not a recipe for long-term success.
Yeah, it's really tough on
Correct.
the fellas.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that. I work at Holy Angels, and that sirens are going constantly from the fire station. So,
Yep.
yeah, you guys are constantly busy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Thank you, John. Go ahead.
Chief, at the ad hoc level, we talked about you negotiating a little bit with Freighter on types of ambulance calls that we're accepting and things like that. Have you started to implement that, and have you seen any changes over the last few months?
Yeah, and without the numbers in front of me, I believe we were down to 20 some interfacility transports last month, which I think was down from 60 last year during September. So we stopped doing, unless they're emergency interfacility transports, which is emergency to emergency room or emergency room to surgery at Freighter or another trauma center. We stopped doing them after 9 o'clock at night. During the day, it's only allowed if we have the staffing available to do the calls. So Freighter worked well with us on that. I don't know how they fixed the problem on their end, but we're thankful that they came up with a better option than relying solely on us.
Agreed.
Great.
And I'll just share quick, on behalf of the council, myself as mayor, this again is something we've been looking at for the last 2 years. And so again, to reassure the public, it's not like this is something new that we're just springing up. It's something that was deeply researched by both, council, fire department, the union, and it's something that I think we all can be really proud of to support, despite the tax increase required to do it. So, thank you.
Very much so. Thank you, Mayor.
I did check the SAFER grant right after the Pledge of Allegiance. We did not get it yet. They have not awarded anything since 9 of 21, so there's still $200 million out there to be awarded. So.
Okay. This would be a good place to spend it. Yeah.
When I know, you will all know. Either way.
For sure. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Moving on? No? Okay.
Page 140 is the next budget in the online.
Inspection.
Yep.
Facilities maintenance. Mark Petrovich. Once again. No? Nothing? Okay. Thank you, Mark. Sorry. We get some exercise. Director of Public Works, Doug Newman.
It starts on page 148.
Questions for Doug? Why haven't you fixed my dam yet? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Go ahead, Mark.
I like the first two goals for 2023. Utilize the new asphalt paver and train the employees on the asphalt paver. I would just suggest, can we do them in the other order? Can we train them first and then use it?
We could try it, certainly.
Kudos for that. It's long past time to be doing that. I have a question on the landfill expenditures. We have a phone line out there, and this is also going to go to the IT because this comes up as a common thread for the IT. But we need to maintain a line out there just so somebody can.
I believe the line is for the internet service. I believe, I'm not positive, but there is a line out there. The increase was because the internet service was charged to this account starting in 2023. Jay had mentioned it to me just prior to this meeting, so I looked up the actuals. That's what the increase was from.
Okay, so
It was previously not charged to that.
it's phone and internet.
Yeah, it's Spectrum and AT&T are the two chargers that are on that account.
Is there a reason we're not all Spectrum or all AT&T? It seems unusual to be splitting it like that. And again,
That would
this may
probably
be
be
a question for
Probably an IT question.
for
yeah.
IT, which, okay, I'll ask that of IT then. And then a general question, some time ago you were having difficulty hiring employees. Are you still substantially short?
We are currently short one public works technician, one vehicle maintenance mechanic, and the operations supervisor, but we are close to filling 2 of those positions. The mechanic position is proving to be a little difficult for applicants.
Okay, any other questions for Doug?
Yeah, I had one, we pay for streetlights. We pay $770,000 a year to turn on the lights. Is there any provision or ability to do a clawback when we have long-term streetlight outages? Because
You mean
I
on
know you and I
single-
went around and around about one on Silverbrook where it was off for over a month.
On one-offs or so, you talking lights that aren't working?
Yeah, well, I mean, a one-off for a day or two, I understand. A one-off for a month, which that was, I don't know, what that equates to in terms of dollars, but
If I have to guess, I think it's about $12 or so maybe a month
a month per head.
per light. If that might even be on a little high end of the cost.
Okay.
You're talking clawback from the electric, from We Energies?
Alderman Allen asked me this question in advance, and I shared with him working with We Energies for a $12 bill is probably not. something
Okay,
that
I
is-
wasn't sure if that was appropriate or not. Go
Well,
ahead,
it's really complicated. They're tough to deal with on our utility project downtown, and
Yeah,
yeah, they are more bureaucratic than government in a lot of ways. I think.
it's hard to believe they're worse than us. Okay, that was the only question I had, was whether there was already a provision in place for that.
Okay.
Well, Mark stole my question on unemployment, how you're doing there, but anything else for Doug? No, we're good? Okay. Moving along to, sorry, I should have had this in a list form here, but sanitation, snow, ice storms, street maintenance. Jesus, that is a huge. Engineer, yep, there he is. Yeah, city engineer. I didn't see Max come in. Is Max here? No? No Max? Okay. Well, direct questions.
I'll try to answer anything that you might have.
Hey. For city engineer, I'm sorry.
Page 183 in engineering. Start.
Okay.
I was just wondering,
Go ahead.
Kunkel is coming out of engineering, right?
Correct.
So are they part of the, where do they show up on the expense side?
It would be page 189 if you're looking in the online version.
Is that contractual?
Page 7, yep, under concur.
That's contractual services?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
It's a 6.1 million. Yeah, that's a serious number. Okay. Public Works, Airport Manager, Mike Shaw. I guess we're going to direct these to Mark if there's any questions about the airport.
You might have jumped past,
Did I skip something? I'm sorry.
yeah, Public Works Fleet, if there's any questions about our maintenance.
Thank you, Jay. Sorry about that.
Doug can attempt to answer them, otherwise feel free to scoot on.
Fleet questions? No? Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
There was an expense item in vehicle maintenance for something called Mitchell on Demand.
It's a repair order software, research software for mechanics.
So they have a tough problem. They put in what they think it is, and it tells them what to replace.
Exactly.
We tried Google. Just a thought.
YouTube. We could try YouTube, I guess.
Huh?
YouTube.
I was going to say, I think YouTube's actually the spot for that, but yeah.
Well, yeah,
That's
but-
what I use. Okay. Okay, airport. Okay. Parks Department. Mr. Yunch, any questions for Parks? Nothing?
Just our wish that the pond reopens.
Yeah.
Well, that would actually be a recreation later in the budget. So.
There, it's a revenue, or
Can't talk about that right now.
That's
wanted
one
to
of the
mention that.
enterprise accounts.
Yeah.
It's a goal.
Would you like me to touch on that topic, or you want to?
No, that's
Okay.
You guys are making good progress on that, though.
We are. I
Yeah.
didn't know that's actually part of the recreation budget with lifeguards and things, so I can touch on it now if
It
you
doesn't
want.
matter, I don't think, really, yeah.
Yeah, no, we have our recruitment campaign all set up and we're executing it. We're looking at doing some trainings for the first 10 candidates in early November. There is a substantial increase in our budget for next year to cover those salaries. We're going to try and seek some donations and other revenue sources, excuse me, to help offset those costs.
As I understand it, the downtown West Side Riverwalk project's doing well.
That is
Yeah.
moving along nicely. Phase 4, the walk north of Washington Street is open. The dam area, we still have to do some staining and railings. Phase 2, right downtown, we are on schedule, yes.
Awesome,
Yep,
Awesome.
moving along nicely.
very good.
Yep.
Very good, thank you, Mike. Yeah, shoot, Mark.
I noticed, we're familiar with John's pet project of killing deer, but I noticed you have Goose Abatement and pond management contracts. What are, I mean, what do you do to abate geese?
Sure. So specifically, depends on the goose population at the time, Mark. And mainly Regner Park, we look at Regner Park, Riverside Park, those high use areas, geese, and a lot of people normally don't go hand in hand.
Dynamite.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, so we do several different maintenance items, I'll say. We work at the USDA, we get permits for them, things like that. We will shake eggs, oil eggs, we can destroy eggs, things like that. At some point in time, depending on the population levels, we will harvest those animals with the USDA and remove them physically from the site. So it depends on the population as to exactly what management practices we would use.
And then pond management?
Pond
contracts?
management, we
What
hire,
does that cover?
What's that?
What areas does that cover? and
Swim
what-
pond in Regner, fish pond in Regner, and Ridge Run, a fish pond over in Ridge Run. Yep. So we hire a contractor to do those services for us. We need to be licensed, we need the chemicals, the equipment, things like that. It'd be too costly for us to invest tens of thousands of dollars just to get our program started. So we contract that out.
Okay.
Yep, it's water treatments. Yep.
Is there a point at which it would make sense for us to do that ourselves, or?
If they've really held their cost kind of level for us, so if at some point in time those numbers would go up, we could bid it out again. We've been at the same company now, I think 3 or 4 years. We do price comparisons with another company in the area, but if things got a little out of control, we could take a look at that. But again, we would need to certify 2 of our staff members. We'd have to buy the equipment, things like that. So there would be a serious investment on our end.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. Any other questions for our Parks Director? No? Doesn't look like it. Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate
233 is the next.
it. I don't have those numbers in here, but,
Yep, it'll be economic development.
okay, economic development. That would be Jess Wiles. Do we have any questions for Jess? Our economic development manager.
And development director is next at 240.
It's also Jess, I assume.
Nope, that's Mark. The-
Oh, that's Mark.
This is-
Okay, that kind of deal. Gotcha.
This is where we hide you and Jess, right? Or half of you and half of Jess?
Yep.
In the-
In
the
economic
economic part,
development, half of me and a portion of Jess. Yes.
Jess is all over the place, man. As the dissolution of the CTV committee and kind of combining things, has that worked out well? Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to, yeah.
It's different.
Okay.
Page 240, if you're looking at the org chart or the beginning of the development director, development department, you'll see the addition of the planning technician. That is a new position that's
is
being
Mark.
added to this department.
This is Mark Petrovich now. And we started we have to get the budget passed first, but, yeah, I guess never mind. Mark?
What is the difference between the planning technician and the planner in terms of their role?
Planning technician would do a lot more of the field work, more of the minor field investigations, more of the erosion control inspections, freeing up Jim Reinke, our business planner's time to do more in-depth analysis for the different site plans, more of the contract work that we do under development agreements, and a lot more of the more timely reviews as the number of projects come in. The more time we can spend on them up front, the less time we have after they're approved, because we can work on improving those. Also, the time, we're seeing a very large increase in what we used to call just miscellaneous inquiries, fence issues, driveway and apron issues, grading complaints between neighbors on different zoning or land use issues. The inspector could take some of that load off of our business planner, and we can use his abilities to better use.
And on a somewhat unrelated thing, in your goals for 2023, you have implement a next-gen housing development project. Is this to decide whether that's something the city wants to pursue? And
we have identified about 15 different possible potential sites. I've worked with Jess and Jay on that as well. I've looked at how I'm on the committee that with the county has formed to create that program, so I'm looking at the parameters and how it would apply. And it's not specific to a type of housing. It's available for owner occupied, but it could be single, two, multi, condo type developments. So we're looking at what projects or what area we could put that to, and if there's a way to incentivize that, the city should be working for that goal as well. So our housing starts are, I mean, over 70% of our equalized value is in residential. So we need to keep that growth. That net new construction, that number that you look in your overall budget is directly related to this. So.
Okay, thank you.
That next gen, is that still in a pilot phase, isn't it? Or have we gotten to the point where they know that we're going to be moving on to other cities and continuing the program?
Yeah, I believe three different pilots are moving forward in various stages right now. None of them under development right now, but
okay,
they're all in planning stages.
So we don't necessarily know that it's a program that's going to move beyond that, or
I don't know if there's assuredness to it, but I believe they've represented that there will be monies available, and if the monies are available out there for this type of incentive, it's worth it for us participating.
For sure. I agree with you completely. I think that multifamily approach makes a lot more sense, but we'll get to that down the road, I suppose. Any more questions for Mark? Nope. Thank you, sir. Moving on to the sewer utility. Come on up, Ruth. How are you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Awesome, thank you. Anybody got questions for Ruth?
Just sewer.
Well, in general?
This is just sewer.
Okay, just sewer, okay.
No, because all the ones I have are going to need IT to weigh in, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
See how easy that was? Wait till we get to water.
I defer to IT on that as well.
Yeah, very good.
For the water stuff?
Anyone else? Questions for Ruth? No? Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Moving on. Administrative. Good Lord. This keeps going and going and going. Okay, there we go. Water utility.
Page 286, if you're scrolling at home. That's the online page number where water utility starts.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, you have you have an item on contractual services for rental of backhoes. And I know the city has backhoes. We just may not, I take it, have the right backhoe or have the right backhoe available when you need it. Is there sufficient usage to look at making a capital purchase like we did with the forestry bucket truck,
yeah.
where a used backhoe or a used bucket truck would.
For the past several years, we've utilized the leasing program through John Deere Leasing and Brooks Tractor. And every 2 years, we trade them in and we find the value that we get back in the trade-off. The cost is much cheaper this way and we get more reliable equipment this way. So we've been doing this, I want to say the past 10 years. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure of the yearly thing. But that is what we do. And we found it to be very cost efficient and very beneficial.
So this isn't rental, this is leasing?
Right, it's a lease. Technically, it's a rental, but we do lease it. It used to be directly through Brooks Tractor. They've now closed that program. We do a lease. They now call it a lease, but it's the same thing as the rental program. We trade them in every 2 years.
All right, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? No?
Perfect, thank you.
You betcha. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Is it the next orange page? Okay, thank you. Okay, non-major special revenue funds budget section. Vehicle maintenance manager. I assume that's Doug Newman, right? Yeah. Go ahead. What's that? Okay. Okay, just run through that there. Okay. Taxi, yeah. Discuss the taxi program. Anyone questions there? Thank you, Doug.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mark.
I understand that you were prepared to do some kind of a quick rundown on the taxi system and some of the impacts. Is now an appropriate time for that, or?
Certainly.
Have at her, man.
Okay, this is a subject that comes up probably once a year when we do our annual renewal of the contract for the service. I guess I will go down to the summary page of this budget. If you want to go to that page, and you can take note of the local share portion, if you're all in that area.
So it's page 5 within taxi revenue.
Thank you.
Or page 340.
So the line that I'm referring to is the local share where it says $103,980. So the local share is the portion of the taxi service that falls back to the levy. So that's the shortage of grant funding we receive and fares from ridership. Now, we've had a discussion with Jay to put together some options here to raise the taxi rates that we wanted to bring to you. I didn't have that information until today, but one of the options that Jay asked me to look into was raising the rates, the current rates up $1 each. And then in addition to that would be something we would recommend would be raising our agency fares. Now, what agency fares are those are ridership tickets that are sold to nonprofits like the Threshold, Community Care, Friends Incorporated, things like that, nonprofits that receive supplemental payments from the government for those. So they pay a little bit more to begin with on those rates. And those rates would go up about $1.50, which are already higher. They're at $7.50, and they would go to a $9 increase. So putting all those numbers together, and it's not as easy as taking how many rides we had last year and adding $1 to them, because, as I just mentioned, some of them pay more, some of them pay less, depending on what ridership ticket they use. So we did put some numbers together to, if we raised the rates by $1 for just cash rides and coupon sales, which are the same, it would go from a $4.50 for an adult to $5.50. That would, I gotta follow my spreadsheet here. That would increase our revenue for those two by $65,000. And what we used to estimate the ridership was, we've always had a trend of ridership declining. And ever since COVID, recovering from COVID, the ridership has been increasing. We still aren't back to where we were pre-COVID, but we had about 8%, I believe, increase in ridership from 2021 to 2022 current. So to estimate for ridership for 2023, we took 2021 actuals and estimated a 10% increase. So being conservative, we're adding a 2% increase to ridership estimates for 23. Keeping in mind, when you raise rates, you are going to potentially lose more riders. So we were trying to be a little conservative on that estimate. And then we did estimate the agency fares as well. And that, based on our estimate for ridership, would increase $23,000 approximately for revenue. So between the two increases in general fares rates and agency fares, if the council chooses to go that route with an increase, we're estimating an increase of approximately $88,000 in revenue, which would offset that $103,000 that you have in front of you on the levy. So I threw a lot out there. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. If you got questions?
How long has it been since the last fare increase?
Good question. I wish I would have wrote that down. I think it's been about 3 years.
Yeah, I would say longer than that. But
Longer than that. It happened before I was on council.
say 2018. Really? Was the last time?
Okay.
Time flies.
I think it was about 3, but I'm just going off the cuff here. I don't remember.
Yeah, would it be possible to get a breakdown on the numbers of people that fall into each of these categories, including, tickets, whether they got there because of a coupon or a special coupon or whatever, so that we get a better feel for,
Yeah, I do
changing the rates, what
Yeah,
what
I
part
have a
of the po-
spreadsheet that I can certainly share that kind of breaks that down a little bit between cash rides, coupon rides, agency fare rides. We can do that.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fine by email for me at least.
We've been pretty fortunate for many, many years to be as budget neutral as we can. And as you know, ridership was declining, and then COVID hit. That certainly didn't help the situation. We did have supplemental funding for that to cover the shortfall, but it's a conversation that we continue to have, and we probably will continue to have, is how much do we want to spend on the levy for taxi service? Or raise the rates, the fares. How high do you want to go? So,
Jed, go ahead.
Is what we get from the state or the federal negatively impacted if we raise our rates? Or does
no.
it- Okay, so they don't give us less if we raise more?
Correct.
Okay.
Our grant funding covers approximately 50% of our operational cost. And the other 50% you cover by fares.
Okay.
So the less ridership, the more shortfall you have there.
And so if we decide to raise the fares, at what point does that take place? Is that by a city council resolution at some point?
Yeah, we've done that before. Yeah.
Yes.
And typically the first of the year, then it takes effect.
Okay. Just so it doesn't get lost. So we'll have to make sure that we address that before we vote on the budget.
Is that
Yeah,
true?
that's why we're talking about it now.
Sure.
And I shared with you at the last week ago, that last meeting, that part of the reason we are on levy to $104,000 is because of the significant increase based on cost of living that Enterprise is taking, or Go Right Way is taking. Sorry.
Mhm. So can we get the taxi fare raise on the agenda?
For Monday, the 17th?
Yeah.
Absolutely, if that's the direction this body wants to go.
I guess I could have started with that. Jay, you mentioned that the increase for the taxi service provider went up considerably because it's based on this, the CPI, so it's like 8%, I think. And we did check with the state on this as well, and it's all standard language. The state goes through all them contracts, the RFPs.
Okay. Well, it seems to me as service the city needs, and to answer the question, raise the rates or cut the service, and I guess we'll have to figure all that out. But
I was able to locate the last increase. It was 2017, and the previous increase to that was 2013. So in 2017, when we raised it, we made a point of indicating that it hadn't been raised since 2013.
Oh, and the increase is in here, 8.3% was the service contract. Go Right Way.
increase every 3 or 4 or 5 years seems reasonable. Yeah. Awesome. Any more questions for Doug on the taxi department? No. Okay. Thank you, Doug. I think we're moving to library. Good evening, sir. How are we doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Awesome. Very good. Any library questions? Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Don't give me that look. Yeah, I noticed in the head counts for 2021, we have reference libraries. 2022 and 2023, we don't have reference librarians. And yet one of the metrics that I see is reference requests that are serviced. Is there a reason we got rid of reference librarians?
The title of reference librarian was used to classify other librarians in the past. So we have moved towards not hiring master degree librarians. We've hired more people who are other educated and to cover some of those positions in part-time roles. And we have one librarian overseeing the adult services, which used to be a reference librarian, listed as a reference librarian. It's now adult services librarian. So just to streamline that process, that's what we did.
Okay.
And to save a couple bucks.
Hmm?
And to save a couple bucks, you know.
Sounded more budget efficient, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Off the hook, boss. Do you have any comments? No?
No, I'll let it go at that. Then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Get out while the getting's good, you betcha. Okay, where's that? And communications, that's... That was where my question was, I guess, yeah. Any questions for Jess? Communications Department. And that is CCTV. How are things going with the new folks?
Great.
Awesome.
We have a great team.
Excellent. Good, good, good. Yes, Mark.
You knew you couldn't get by without me
I
asking
know.
one.
Tried skating.
What is a .06 event staff? I mean,
So we have a number of part-time seasonal staff that help with tourism-related events, so that's how much it ends up being. 0.6.
okay. So it's
That's
just
more than
somebody
one
you bring
person.
in, collect tickets or
Yep, so
stand
like
in the
at
booth?
winter
or-
warm-up, we had a couple of people there helping for a few hours of the day with, at that event. So that's.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's all you got?
0.06.
I will say that I've heard positive comments of the Visit West Bend program, so.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good, 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 good. Economic development, that's also Jess. Any questions there?
Is this the part of development that does the loan program and some of those types of things?
Yep, we have the Economic Development Fund as a piece to the budget as well. Yep.
Is there any part of that active at this point, or?
It is. Yep, we still have active loans right now. Not a lot of new interest in that program. We did do one small business loan that was this year. It's a separate budget. That's not even, so that program, we help administer the small business loan pool for downtown businesses or some in the historic Barton commercial area. And we work with Bank 5-9 on that, so it's at no cost to us.
Do we do any attempt to market that, or?
Yep, we do.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Recreation, I'm going to assume this is Mr. Yench. Yep.
Make him walk all the way up here, right?
Yeah, I know. It looked like this is
Wait till he's up there.
This is
we don't get to send him back.
Ninja Mud Run and those sort of things, yeah. Yeah. It looked like that went very well this year.
It was very successful, yes.
Yeah. Retail say
I'll ask my one question.
Okay, we'll go.
So I'm looking through the thing that gets mailed to me that says all the event, the special recreation programs that the city's offering. And yet I go look at the list here, and there's no ballroom dancing. And
You want ballroom dancing?
No, well, not me. No. I'm the picture in the dictionary that white man can't dance. I'm that guy. But I just the only reason I ask is you list everything else, and I didn't see any dancing other than ballet.
We do offer dance Some of that is our contractual programs. Yeah.
Did I miss it? Oh,
Okay, well, never mind, Mike.
All right, now we saved the planet on
it's
that one.
free. It's free.
Okay.
Okay.
Randy's the commissioner. He gets it.
So I get to blame it on Randy?
I'll get busted on that.
He has broad shoulders.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike. I'm sorry. Any other questions? No? Oh, I'm sorry, Jed.
Again, for the folks listening at home, there not too long ago was a letter in the Daily News from someone who said that our tax dollars should not be going to pay for the musical events and for kiddie events. And it's worth noting that this is an enterprise fund, and we discussed that via email, that all these events are either paid for through admission. A lot of the musical events are paid for by outside agencies, through donors, and
our tax dollars are not paying.
Tax dollars are not paying for this stuff, right?
Correct.
Tax dollars pay for the maintenance of the parks. So
That is correct. The Dirty Ninja Mud Run is our largest revenue source that covers our recreational programming. Yep, absolutely. We try to keep our youth programs affordable, and our adult programs, we try to have them cover their own direct operational costs. Again, kind of a grassroots approach. We give them the little ones, the basics, and then from our programs, they move on to the little leagues and the local dance studios and things like that. But it's a quality of life item, and like Jed had noted, all these direct costs for recreation are not from the general fund, generated by revenue, or paid for with the revenues that we generate, or donations.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
I think
Have a
that's
good
it.
night.
You too, Mike, thank you. Yeah, I guess we'll just finish off the Tourism Commission and the ARP money, if you want to talk about that, Jess or Jay.
If there's any questions, we'll attempt to answer them, but otherwise, the budget's before you. Tourism Commission meets this week.
Wednesday.
Be there. Or somewhere.
Right here.
Yeah, right here. Right here. Good, good, good. Okay. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
I think that pretty much covers it. Did you have any closing thoughts, Tracy? No. Okay. Let's go eat. Yeah, I know. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to thank Jay and thank staff. I know this is, not always maybe your favorite time to come and stay after work and get a little grilled by us, but we really appreciate all your hard work year after year to make our city as wonderful as it is. Thank you.
Go ahead, Randy.
Just one question again for those at home. Can we get just a general explanation? The unassigned fund balance has grown from 5.2 to 8.1. Total fund balance has gone from 7,000,004 to 10,4. And just give us a highlight of why we don't use that for tax reduction purposes, or at least part of it.
Yeah, we're in a fortunate position with our fund balance being as solid as it is, and I appreciate the question, Alderman Kaler, regarding for those at home. So having a strong fund balance affords us an affordable rate for future bondings. We do have a policy in place that once we exceed the measured amount of fund balance by percentage, this body, the City Council, gets to act on spending those funds in future year CIP spending. So that is a trigger that's already in place. We're there, so it's a great position to be at. We're not in the position of growing. We don't have a stated goal of growing fund balance from 30 to 50%, for example. We made it to 30, and now we can take the proceeds, if we're lucky enough to have any in the future, beyond that amount, and spend them reinvesting into the city. So great question, good point. And and to your point or question of why we wouldn't take some of that 30% and spend it down to something less than 30%, we wouldn't do it for a couple of reasons. One is you don't typically take unless it's an emergency. That's why it's a fund balance, rainy day fund. Funds from a one-time source into an operating budget like this, which has reoccurring costs. And the second reason is it would lower our position regarding future bonding. Appreciate it.
Yep, go ahead, Mark.
When might we expect to see the capital budget? When are we going to receive that for review?
It'll be part of this coming Monday's agenda on October 17th, so it'll be in the agenda packet when you receive it on Wednesday. We have a meeting, an internal meeting tomorrow again with the department head team to finalize that, and then it'll be included in, it's already on the preliminary agenda that went out today and will be on the finalized agenda this week, Wednesday.
And as I understand it, we'll get the list before it's finalized, the things that department heads wanted that didn't make the cut, or?
Yeah, you get the 2023 recommended budget, CIP, and then also the next 4 years are included in there as well. We can specifically include a list that shows items that were requested in 23 that were shifted into future years.
Yeah, I believe we actually asked for that at some point.
That'd be great. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Anything else? Well, in closing, I guess I am fairly new to the finance chair positions, my first budget season. I appreciate you all putting up with my stuttering and whatnot. But if there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn by the call of the chair.